and I am nothing but a man.
Swinging on and happy, hippie, yeah. Hippie, yeah.
What's up YouTube, welcome back to Whacked Out eSig. Today I'm reviewing the Derringer V3. I classify this as a product that is a clone of something that never existed because Praxis Vapors, who made the original Derringer, never made a version 3 and they never made a Derringer with a velocity style deck. This is both of those. It's still a clone because they're still calling it a Derringer atomizer with the Praxis Vapors logo on it. It still has the same airflow. Basically, from the outside, it looks exactly the same. The difference, obviously, is that there is a velocity style deck inside. Personally, I much prefer this one because the velocity style deck is so much easier to build on than the 3-post deck that originally came with the original Derringer. The 3-post deck is not really hard to build on. It's just with all these velocity style decks and even 4-post decks and clamp style, everything out now is easier than a 3-post deck, at least for me. So I much prefer this one. Plus the price is much better as well. I'm much more likely to spend my money on a clone of something if the person who has cloned it or the company has changed it. In this case it's with the deck. I'm not completely opposed to buying a complete ripoff if it's all I can afford at the time, but if I had to choose, I would choose something that they've changed up to benefit the consumer a bit more. You can see vapor production is great. It's more than I need, but it's not extreme. And flavor is really good on this as well, pretty much because it's such a small atomizer. The coil is so close to your face. Obviously, don't bring it to your face without putting the cap on. Don't know why I even need to say that. But yeah, there's no distance for the vapor to travel or dissipate, so the flavor is just concentrated directly into your mouth, and it's really good. That's not even with full airflow. So without wasting any more of your time, we'll go up close. I'll show you how I build this, at least for the single coil that I'm using now. Then we'll come back up and I'll talk to you about my experience using this over the past few weeks. So let's get to it. Okay, so here is the Derringer V3 or version 3. At the top it has nicely deeply engraved Derringer atomizer, and then I don't really like this. It says Praxis Vapors. I get it, it's a one-to-one clone, but you really don't need to put someone else's logo. Obviously the outside design is from Praxis, and that's what they are kind of referring to when they say the Derringer, because it is a clone of that, which, yeah, just in the future, they're probably not watching this, but I don't like the fact that they put someone else's logo. The drip tip on top is the one from the Theorem. I actually replaced this a while ago with the one that came with it, and I can't find that one, but it's basically a palm or Delrin, some kind of plastic anyway. At the bottom, you get a copper 510 pin, and yes, it is very much protruding. You can put this on a hybrid if you really want to. I don't use hybrids, so don't have that problem, but yeah. It might be hard to see, but you can see it's got that metallic finish on it. It's black. It has in the right sunlight, it kind of looks like it has a gunmetal tint to it, but it is just kind of plain black. So that's one of the airflow holes open. You can see it's in single coil configuration right now. I'll pop it on this stand and open it to show you the deck, because that is the most attractive part in my opinion. So like other Derringers, if you've seen them before, you get your airflow control ring that is press fit with O-rings, and it just pops off. And here is your velocity style deck. So I have 2 of the holes open already, ready to put a build into there, and we'll zoom up on the deck. So decently deep deck for such a small atomizer. I mean, it's not gonna fill up a pool of liquid, but it's definitely enough. The only thing I'm concerned about with this is, let me grab something. This positive pin, or this screw that is holding down the positive block, that is copper. And I mean, You know, if something's made in the States or something somewhere, or from generally just a company that I trust, I don't mind that much having a copper anything exposed to liquid. But when it comes to a clone company from China, I don't know how they're making it, I don't know what grade of copper they're using. That could be a concern for a lot of people, and it kind of is for me, but at the same time I don't drip that much, so I'm not that concerned. But yeah, maybe in the future I may be able to replace that out with a stainless steel or something. So you probably know what it looks like already. Velocity style deck. You get your two holes evenly spaced apart, very decently large. They kind of look like ovals, and yeah, you can fit some crazy wire into there, but I mean, it's a very small atomizer. I wouldn't suggest it. You don't want it getting too hot, especially like I mentioned, that copper. So yeah, two O-rings. The top one holds down the airflow control ring, so I can pop that on. You can see you can either have it in dual coil configuration, obviously that would twist around like that, or you can twist it around a little bit more and have it in single coil configuration. So that's what I'm going to build this with for a very particular reason. Now this does vape very well with dual coils, but this cap, when you put it on and you take it off and you're dripping in there, it's a very small chamber, and the cotton is normally almost touching these rings on the side. When you vape it, it condenses, it gets everywhere, and when you take off the cap to drip again, there is liquid normally all over this thing. That's the only thing I didn't like about the Derringer before, besides from the fact that I didn't like the deck, 3-post deck. That condensation. Right now with single coil, it's okay. It still gets a little bit messy over time, but when you take off the cap, just give it a wipe down and it's pretty much ready to go. So that presses down. Now I've had 3 Derringer clones before, and I've had the same problem on every one, and that's when you first get it and you try and put down the top cap, it does not sit evenly at all. And if you take it off, obviously I've fixed it by now, but this O-ring, the bottom one that comes with it, the 3 I've had, all from different places, I guess they're the same company that makes them, don't know what's happening, but they're always wonky. Like, it's thicker on this side than on this side, and when you put it on, it never sits evenly. But it comes with a bag of O-rings and the Allen key and extra screws and stuff, so you just take that off, replace it with a new O-ring basically, and it sits down there very nicely. It's kind of dry now, but yeah, I actually really like this Derringer, so I'll throw a build into it and then I'll talk to you about vaping it. Okay, so for this build, and for every build that I do pretty much, I use the Coilmaster coil jig, and in this case I'm using 24 gauge Canthal wire. I have 10 wraps of it around a 2.5 millimeter rod basically, and we'll just get to install this. So like every velocity style deck, I normally wrap my coils in a way so that one coil on the left is going under and one on the right is going over, one lead anyway, so I will put them in the corresponding holes so that it sits evenly. And when you put it in, you can see that it centers it pretty much perfectly from the get-go. So I just hold it in place with my thumb and screw it in. The threads are decent. On clones generally the threads aren't perfect, especially when you compare them to really nice authentics, but they do the trick and they screw in the wire. So that's all I really need for now, especially something that I just use to test out liquids and stuff like that. It's more than I need. So that is pretty much good. You can play around with it, position it to get it as centered and uniform as possible. I hope this isn't too dark for you guys. I can brighten it up a bit. And that's pretty much ready to go. I don't believe that that is too far out, because if you keep it too close to the middle, there is the potential for spit back. And actually in the past I've done a coil going through the middle of this, Thanks to Eric, if Eric is watching this, for giving me that suggestion, and it vaped amazingly, and surprisingly not that much spit back, so I guess it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, that's pretty much ready to go. What we will do now is snip the back leads. Remember to hold on to the leads so that they don't go flying, especially if you have little kids or animals running about the house, or just you in general. You don't want it sticking into your foot. So we can take this off now, and I'll put it on a mod. Okay, so putting it on this Lost Vape E Squared DNA 40. It's also a very short mod, and we'll see what this is reading at. Should be around 0.75. Yep, that's about good. 30 watts is maybe a bit high to pulse it on, but if it's doing the trick, it's doing the trick. So we want this to glow evenly. It's not going to glow evenly at first. What we do, get some ceramic tweezers. If you have ceramic tweezers, you can hold the coil and pinch it and fire at the same time. If you have metal of any kind, or even plastic or whatever, don't do this because it will completely burn out your coil, and you don't want that. So if it's giving any kind of trouble, I do this generally anyway because I don't like pulsing it too much. Just brush it and it glows evenly from the inside out. So now what we do is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, lock or turn off your mod and put in some cotton. So I'm just using a strip off of a pad of Muji organic Japanese cotton. You can use whatever cotton you like pretty much. Just keep in mind that the least amount of processing done to the cotton, obviously the less harmful it will be to what you're inhaling. And as far as we know, Japanese cotton is the best. So I cut way too much on this. It looks a bit wonky, like an antler or some shit, but since it is a very small atomizer, we don't want too much cotton, especially with a relatively large coil like 10 wraps. So I can cut it just past the deck on either side. We want it to be about even on both ends. If it's not perfect, we can play around with it, move them out of the way. That looks okay. So now I'm gonna fold the cotton just using this Allen key that it came with. And I'm trying to look off of the camera directly at it because it's a bit better, but sometimes that can compromise if it's in the frame or not. Alright, so it's not perfect, but you want space underneath the coil as well for the air to get through. You can see it right through there. Just the right amount of cotton in there. So let me get some juice. What juice am I using? I'm using 12 Monkeys Macaraz, and I have to admit I'm actually I'm kind of liking this, and I have a story about this liquid and about the prototype that they had, that it was slightly different. It was more macaroon than raspberry, because this is a raspberry French macaroon, and I preferred the one with more macaroon. This one has more raspberry, and I'm actually kind of getting hooked on it now. So it is what it is, just dripping it on there. Unlock the mod or turn it back on, whatever you had done. It's vaping pretty well, 0.76. That probably might fluctuate a bit, but seems to be doing okay. Oh, it just smells so good. Okay, so single coil, you line up your airflow right in front of it, pop your cap on, and you're ready to vape. So let's go and do that. So I filmed that up close segment a couple days ago, and I just rebuilt with the same exact coil just before doing this review, and I noticed that one of the screws seems to be stripping. Not that big of a deal because it does come with spares, so if it does fully strip I can switch it out, but it's something to note. Always with clones, there's always something that goes wrong, and in this case it's one of the screws that's stripping. I much prefer a screw that's replaceable stripping than, say, something like I don't know, something where the post spins or something like that. It's just really annoying. You have to buy a complete new one. Not that big of a deal. So before we went up close, I mentioned that this isn't full airflow. Right now, I have it in single coil mode with 2 of the air holes open, and you can see how much vapor I'm getting. The one thing that I did mention is that with dual coils especially, the amount of liquid that builds up on that airflow ring is unbelievably annoying. There's so much of it. It still happens with a single coil, but obviously half as much as with a dual coil. So not sure if you can see it. It's not that bad right now, but you can see it's pretty wet on there. I can get a paper towel. I'll clean this off, and then I'll reposition the airflow so that I can have a fully open, at least for the single coil, and I'll show you what the vapor production is like. So fully open, you can see the 3 holes there. And I just got so much liquid in my mouth. Generally, spitback is not that big of a problem, but that's why I prefer to have it with less airflow. It's warmer, the flavor I find is better, and you can hit it so many more times with less airflow than if you're dragging so much air over the coil. It's gonna dry out the cotton even quicker. So I can get a good maybe 10 hits off of this before it goes dry, and that's not bad at all considering that this doesn't hold much cotton. This is a 0.7, 0.75 around there ohm coil, and I'm vaping at 25 watts, and it's just really nice. I mean, it's not killing my battery. It's 4.2 volts. It's nice and warm. It's nice and flavorful. I'm getting a shitload of vapor. When I initially bought this, I bought this as like just a simple dripper to use when I'm reviewing liquids, because it's easy, velocity style deck. If I need to rebuild it, it's quick. When I need to rewick, it's even quicker. And I happen to start using this pretty much all the time because I forgot how much I like the Derringer. It's small, it's flavorful. I've said it a lot of times. I'm kind of rambling now, so yeah, if you want one of these, the link will be in the description for ecigarettes.ca. I can't find it on their website right now, so you might have to call in and ask if Albert has them in stock. So I don't know the exact price, and I can't remember how much I paid for it, but I'm gonna guess somewhere in between $25 and $35 Canadian dollars anyway. So for that price, especially compared to the original price of the Derringer, which is $100+, I definitely recommend trying this out. If you are new to building, you're probably gonna like this. It's not that small in terms of building, but it's still smaller than your average one. So take everything I said into consideration. If you can find another review for this, good luck. But also, if you can find them, listen to what other people are saying about them, because one opinion is one opinion. That's about it. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. Don't forget to like the video, it helps me out a lot. Share the video if you feel so inclined, and subscribe to the channel if you want more reviews and goodies like this. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon.